Alright, so we're going to be fixing the leak. Of course, what's happened is the strap goes over, the one that actually needs to be replaced, so I'll have to take the strap off momentarily, but I'll do that later. These ones are easy. These, the leaks that are coming, or weeps from up here, they're nice and simple. The one that's leaking is this front one, which you can sort of see that it's actually in a more wetter state, as it were, as opposed to the others. These are corks. I've bought rubber replacement ones, so we'll see whether or not that's going to work. These rear ones weren't actually a problem, but I thought I'd give your attention. Now, I don't know whether this is a Harley thing or something, but look at the state of those nuts. They're complete. One of this rear one here is completely and utterly rounded down there, all because they don't have a thin half to get onto the top one, so they've had to do something or other. You know, this is a 7/16, that's a half, and that's a half. Luckily for me, I've actually got thin wrenches, spanners should I say, which allows for that to work. But yeah, I'm going to have some fun. Pull this up. There we go. And that one. There we go. So yeah, I'm going to have some fun in there, because every single one has got nicks and rubs on it, you see? Someone's just used incorrect tools to adjust them. Also, that's without any, that's with no adjustment on it yet, like I haven't touched it yet, so yay. That one's alright. They spin, well that one obviously does, but they spin a little too easy, so I'm beginning to think that perhaps they need a bit of an adjustment anyway. Anyway, we'll pick it up once I've got them out. So I said I was going to be back. Basically, this is the top seal from the exhaust push rod. You notice how as I turn it, twist it around, it's not exactly flat. And I think that's what the key was to the oil. Hadn't seated correctly up in the up there. Let's see if that'll show, just in there. So I'm going to put a rubber ones in. I can at least do these seals. But they all came out with the actual push rod covers. I can do the seals up this side, and I can do those seals down there. I've got a full set to do the entire thing, which of course I'll do, of course. So I think that's where the oil was coming from, which is a bonus. At least I think that's where it will come from. Not quite sure why it would be going in diagonally. Hope it's not the spring. I didn't buy a new spring. Of course I didn't. Okay, change of plans. Essentially, someone might be able to tell me if they're solid or hydraulic before I actually look them up. I suspect they're hydraulic. I'm not sure. We'll have a look. But a change of plan, because essentially if you look here closely, here, as I was talking about just previously, look at that munty use on that locking nut there. Just ridiculous. It's almost like they didn't have the right tools, which makes me think that should I decide, or not should I, but when I go and make up my tool kit for this one, I put in this little thin one, because that just slides in there beautifully and it doesn't impact the one below. I've already got a half on my tool thing, so I'll just take this out of my other set. All right, so I'm going to look online, find out if I can just get this bit. So I'm going to stop now, because frankly I know that the intakes are longer than the exhausts, but if I were to take out the other exhaust and it be absolutely almost exactly the same, I know me, I'll get it wrong. So we're going to leave these up. I'll just take the pegs off and put them back down so they don't get too weirded out. And I'll get some of this, get one of those. I should get 4 and put them in. I'm hoping that new ones, I know that you're supposed to put them back in the same one that you've come from, etc., etc. So I hope the new ones will just sit in there nicely. But yeah, so that's how she is. Also, taking the air cleaner off. No gasket between the air cleaner and the carburetor itself. The other thing I'm going to do today, once I've just put this down, to knock this one out and have a look at the main jet to see what it is. And I've also got some of those special adjustable, longer bowl screws so that they're easier to take off should you be out on the road, because of course I'm going to be riding this long distance, should I say. So that's where we're at the present moment. I'll either be back or I won't. So just a quick update on the state of the shovel. With the push rods out, I thought I might just quickly drop my finger up into the little hole up here to check the end float on the rocker shafts, and unfortunately should be able to hear this one actually. That's the front one, the one that was also leaking. This rear one here is barely moving. Actually, you can't hear anything at all. So that one needs to be, the end float needs to be changed on it or shimmed out, and I haven't done these ones either. So the thinking is that what I'll do is I'll get the new push rods to coming in, put them in here, put them up into the top of the rocker box as it is now, put the accelerator cable that's coming, do the clutch on the other side, etc, etc, set up the brake switches and the front brake, and actually ride it for longer than 100 meters, maybe just a couple more. Look at that, that's been bent. Yeah, maybe for just a few, maybe a little short while, and then maybe take the heads off. Unfortunately, with this style of bike, I can't just take the rocker covers off. There is a mod you can do once they're off to one of these bolts that allows the rocker covers just to be taken off from inside the frame, but that probably hasn't been done, so I've got to take the heads off, which is probably a good idea because I don't know what's inside the engine down here in the old in the jugs, etc. So they might be a bit buggered, I'm not sure. Certainly it's had a hard life, and I'm not sure whether or not it's been looked after, that's for sure. Anyhow, so that's where we're at. Okay, it's a bit early in the morning, so I've got to keep my voice down a little bit. I decided to take the other push rods out because I'm a little bit worried that I'm going to have to take the heads off. And I thought what I'd do is I'd say to myself, if these rocker shafts got the end floaters too great, then it's almost certainly going to happen. And unfortunately, if we go in here, it's not as bad as the other side, but it is still... That one's bad, and this one, a little less. Get on the... So, unfortunately, both end floats up here on the rocker covers, rocker shafts are too great. So this one was quite tight. This was loose, about as loose as this one. And that one's sort of halfway between the two. So I think I've got to take the heads off. A bit of good news though was at least the adjustment was correct on here. I couldn't get any up and down movement on there. So I think I'm going to have to take the heads off. I'm going to wait until I get the bore scope in so that I can have a look at the other side through the spark plug leads to see what the cylinders look like. But I know that if I want to fix the end float, I've got to take the heads off anyway, so perhaps that's what I'm going to have to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on some parts today that I actually do have, which is just an extended kickstand, and possibly mess around with these bars just so that I can get an idea of what sort of length cables I need, because this cable here is essentially way too long. You can see that. That's from the 16-inch 8 hangers. So I've ordered a normal sized one because apparently they're about 32 to 36 and I went with a 36, so that should be on its way, but it's coming from America, so of course I've got to wait. I'll also, if this is coming off, I'll take the opportunity to just quickly also get rid of these awful bloody braided oil lines. I might leave one braided oil line on, maybe the vent, I can't fully remember which one I've decided to leave on. I do need to sort this out. That's bent over. Now I'm not quite sure, but I suspect what that is someone's gone in there and has really ramped on the fuel enrichener. It doesn't need to be really ramped up. So with it bent like that, and it comes up like that, I suspect I'm not getting full fuel enrichment. I reckon I'm only getting about that much because it's bent. Now I could bend it back. I'll see about doing that. Otherwise, maybe it's time for a one that is like a knob. As you can feel there, though, I don't have much room between the tank and the actual fuel enrichener itself. So I have to be a bit careful on what I do there. Otherwise, yeah, I also will be able to have a look at this, what I feel is a leak in here. I've got a stud conversion for the heads coming as well, because these are bolts, so that I'd be able to stud convert instead. So I was going to do that anyway, so I'm just beginning to think that maybe I might hold off on doing these leaky seals and everything. I have got a shim kit, a Drag Specialties shim kit coming from Melbourne. I don't have the ability to turn up the correct amount of, or take off or add on the amount of play that needs to come in, and Drag Specialties make a spring washer thing that can take up the slack. My concern is perhaps that this amount of slack, no, I'm not going to be able to do it now. The amount of slack that's in there might be too much, in the respect that I might actually have worn rocker shafts, which means new rocker shafts. Anyhow, thank you for watching.